Well, it's a great pleasure to have the opportunity to share in this celebration of such an incredible institution. For me, involvement at the Center for Political Studies started when I was a graduate student, and I came to Michigan the same year that Don Kinder joined the faculty and became a part of CPS. And so I actually didn't know when I was coming to graduate school that he would be there, but he ended up, for me, being an amazingly inspiring touchstone from the moment we started to work together, even still today. And our work together happened through his base at CPS. I had weekly meetings with him in his corner office on the fourth floor. And it was a wonderful opportunity to learn how to be a scholar, to watch how a researcher does his research, but also to see the institution in which he did it. And CPS is such a rich setting for scholars studying American politics, studying the psychology of American politics in particular, which was Don's angle, my angle. And so every minute that I was walking in the building through CPS, interacting with the scholars who were there and the staff who were there, and watching the file cabinets that were there, that it was just a way of seeing this is a really long-standing, really important institution that created the direction for the study of American politics, that Campbell, Converse, Miller, Stokes establishing the American voter in that setting set the direction for the field for decades. And we're still following that precedent as a discipline, and which is a pretty amazing thing. Of course, so much of quantitative social science started in the 1950s, and that was true at Michigan in that setting as well. But it was a especially remarkable group of four people who brought together sociology, psychology, and political science to envision the study of American voters. And so for me to have Don become the co-principal investigator of the ANES while I was a grad student let me watch through his eyes that process of running a big infrastructure study that served the purposes of scholars throughout the world and produced thousands of publications and leads to insights that are unmatched by any other studies of voters and elections. That we are so used to seeing one-off telephone surveys before elections, but almost never after the election is over is there serious science done to understand voter decision-making, except at CPS, that the origins of the work that so many people do comes from there. And so I saw how Don ran the study. I saw how the study made its decisions, how data were collected to be able to walk downstairs and see the Survey Research Center's operations in one building, to go to seminars, to listen to senior scholars give talks. It was a really inspiring setting to be in as a young person. And as a result of that, I felt so privileged years later to be invited to collaborate with Skip Lupia in co-directing the ANES. And that really happened because Skip and I were invited to be on the board of the project at about the same time. And we found ourselves sitting next to each other at board meetings and sharing notes and realizing that we both shared a love for the study and felt like it was an opportunity worth taking on at the moment that we were invited to do it. And to bring co-direction of the study to Stanford, such that it's a Michigan-Stanford partnership now, was just such a personal reward for me and a real reward for this institution. Stanford has a wonderful tradition of scholarship, but we are a little, as the president of Ohio State, where I used to teach, would say, that in comparison to the Michigan luxury liner, Stanford is a little speedboat. And we just simply don't have the institutional structure and size and faculty size and capacity to even dream of having something like ISR, and not to mention to have something like CPS. And so for us as faculty here and students to become a part of the CPS operation, to come under that umbrella, is a great privilege for us. And for me, it was great fun working with Skip in envisioning a new study that year. And when Barack Obama was the nominee for the Democrats and was elected, of course, and that provided an opportunity for us to introduce exciting ideas from psychology about racial attitudes that hadn't been as prominent in the study as they became at that moment. And so for us to be able to collect those data, to allow scholars to see how that election changed the game in American politics, what a great treat for me. So my debts to CPS really stretch back to the beginning, to 1981, when I knocked on Don's door and said, could I have a meeting? To today, when I have close friends still at CPS and watch closely all of the work that comes out and admire the continued success of the ANES. It's an unmatched institutional resource, and CPS makes it possible. There have been so many moments in history when CPS went the extra mile to allow the ANES to continue. There, have been moments when the budget, being as large as it is, led scholars to ask questions around the world about, is this really worth it? And happily, every time that question was asked, the answer came back, yes, actually, what Michigan is doing is worth it. Let's continue that tradition. And so, congratulations on keeping this up for this long. And I hope we'll see many, many more years of great scholarship to come. As I think back to the Michigan experience that I had, I think it's hard to disregard the physical arrangement that the building had at the time to promote that kind of thing, the bays, and the fact that you kind of couldn't walk out of your office without seeing a lot of other people working. It really did create bonds between people. And so many university settings, you have long hallways with offices in a row and people don't see each other. And it's easy, especially if you have to sit out in the bay, to feel like, Jesus, I have no privacy here. But the benefit of it all is this really the creation of this team energy, which I think what you're hearing is partly, in a weird way, it's creditable to the physical environment as well as to the institution.
That's a